I feel like I live in a world made of cardboard, always taking constant care not to break something, to break someone. When Goku is not Superman. On paper,
Very
Goku is
true.
the most obvious Superman parallel in anime. Both characters are super powerful aliens that escaped the planet that exploded and were raised by kind farmers and ultimately grew up to become the strongest defenders of their adopted homeworld. These similarities are undeniable, but ultimately surface level. Akira Toriyama's primary inspiration for the creation of Goku was never Superman, but instead it was
What's
always
up, guys? I all hope you're having a blessed day. I got another banging video for you today, and this is all about Superman and the idea of being a hero. With the latest Superman right around the corner, I thought it'd be good to really dissect the character of Superman, and I really want to say that anime 100% does Superman better than Superman. And I'll even go to say characters like Almight and even characters like Luffy are much greater heroes than Superman. And this video, we're going to focus on All Might. Some say, or most people can widely consider him as anime Superman from the themes of the USA and all those kind of elements that he shows are very like Superman. But let's get straight into the video to see this and how All Might is Superman done right.
made of. I feel like I live in a world made of cardboard, always taking constant care not to break something, to break someone. When discussing Superman as a character, the first thing that many people would think of is his strength. So many discussions involving Superman discuss him in terms of his strength and who he can or can't beat in a fight. Could Superman beat Batman? Could Superman beat the Hulk? Could Superman beat Saitama? Superman feels like the proverbial wall that your favorite overpowered character has to climb in order to be considered strong. However fun these
Very
hypothetical
true.
fisticuffs can be, it
It
reduces
really
the
is the
character of
base
Superman
of what
down to
strength
just
is
how
in
hard he can
fiction.
punch. It ignores the character of Superman in favor of the powerhouse. Personally, I feel like if all you take away from Superman is how strong he is, you're not fully appreciating the character and what he represents. You are removing what makes Superman special and you are left with an overpowered godlike entity rather than what the character of Clark Kent is supposed to.
That is actually very true. And I can hold my hands up and say I have been guilty about this. Growing up, it's always very easier to see more depth in characters like Batman with his tragic backstory of how his parents died and all his psychological villains such as Joker being the most best example, and even characters like Spider-Man, who's a lot younger in the aspect of Peter Parker. We can relate to with how he has to balance school, romance, relationships, a job, as well as being a hero and all the complexities that has living this kind of like double life. And then you see Superman, who at initial thoughts is just like, oh, this guy, he just like it's kind of like fiction's Jesus character, where it's like he's good just for the sake of being good, and everything he does is good, and doesn't have any bad side, and people see that as one dimensional. But even as I've grown, I've seen there's so much more depth with him, with how he's about being all about being hope, about the tragedy of being strong, but actually not being able to sort out every single problem, and the kind of complexities and how it weighs down on the psyche and the mind, the idea of expectation, the idea of responsibility of how his actions he has to consider greater humanity rather than just himself. It's quite a great story with Superman, and like I said, I am guilty of it as well. But this video should hopefully provide more insight if you guys didn't know this too.
Be. This will probably be the most controversial thing I say in this video, but if all Superman is to you is power, then you don't really like Superman. You enjoy spectacle, strength, and cool battles. It's perfectly fine to enjoy a character for their displays of power, but if that's all you get out of the character, you're missing the point of why the character was created in the first place.
True.
If Superman is as interchangeable to you as the Hulk or Gojo or Kratos or Omni-Man, then you're not fully appreciating the character in its entirety. I don't mean to shame anyone for enjoying power scaling. As a person who makes videos on anime, I have engaged with power scaling for my entire life and still do. I love thinking about the logistics of who would win in a fight and how one character's powers would interact with another. However, while I appreciate power scaling, I don't want the discourse around Superman to be reduced to who he could beat in a fight. I think more conversations need to be had about the themes and messages of overpowered characters as opposed to simply how hard they can hit or how big of an explosion they can make. This is how we avoid making misguided assumptions comparing the role of one character to the role.
So much more better than like power scaling. Always so much powerful. Whether it's characters like Meruem, Gojo, even Gojo, Sukuna, off the top of my head, even people like Raven from the Teen Titans, Escanor. It's so much more interesting seeing them at a narrative standpoint rather than a physical power scaling standpoint. So much better. But let me know if you
character.
agree.
This is how we avoid misinformation stating that one character is simply the anime version of Superman just because they have surface level similarities. And so, without further ado, let's address a certain Super Saiyan in the room.
Hey, it's me, Goku!
Goku is not Superman. On paper, Goku is the most obvious Superman parallel in anime. Both characters are super powerful aliens that escaped the planet that exploded and were raised by kind farmers and ultimately grew up to become the strongest defenders of their adopted homeworld. These similarities are undeniable, but ultimately surface level. Akira Toriyama's primary inspiration for the creation of Goku was never Superman, but instead it was always Sun Wukong, the Monkey King. Hence why he had a monkey tail, why he fought with a staff, why he sought out adventures and battles, and why his name is literally Son Goku. If you need more proof, look no further than Akira Toriyama's original design for Goku, which was just a cuter, younger looking version of the Monkey King. Even though Goku's origin in Dragon Ball Z was nearly identical to Superman's, Goku is not meant to be a Superman-esque figure and was supposed to be an archetypal Monkey King parallel. Goku's characterization throughout all incarnations of Dragon Ball has always been defined by combat. He was raised in the woods by a martial artist, and while Grandpa Gohan did try to teach him proper morals, he mostly raised Goku the best way he knew how, by teaching him how to fight. And on top of that, fighting is quite literally in his DNA. Goku's Saiyan heritage gives him a biological inclination and desire to seek out opponents for battle. It is genetically impossible for a Saiyan to say no to a test of strength even at the risk of their own safety or the safety of others. This inherent biological need to seek out stronger opponents is tied to Goku's thematic story. Goku's story has always been about bettering yourself and becoming a better person. There's a reason why Goku and Dragon Ball have become the inspiration for so many people to hit the gym. For Goku, his version of self-improvement is taking on stronger and stronger challenges and climbing higher and higher walls. He breaks his limits time and time again because that is who he is. Because of his internal desire to become stronger, as well as his being the thematic representation of self-improvement, Goku will always seek out a good fight. Removing fighting from Goku would be removing Goku from Goku, and then you're basically left with Gohan. Meanwhile, on the other side of the planet, Clark Kent has always been a strong advocate for peace and diplomacy. The man of tomorrow avoids fighting the best he can because he knows that if he has to fight someone, he will win and he will have to hurt them. As he states in Justice League Unlimited during his final confrontation against Darkseid, I feel like I live in a world made of cardboard, always taking constant care not to break something, to break someone. The reason I opened the video with this line is because it perfectly blends Superman's strength with his characterization. Clark was adopted by two people who were the best that humanity had to offer, and they in turn raised him to be the pinnacle of human goodness. Being the epitome of humanity's inherent goodness means that you have the strength to fend off evil for sure, but it also means that you should try your hardest to mitigate harm to others.
Superman is very interesting. It really is the pinnacle of answering the question of nature versus nurture, and how ultimately nurture always can prevail against nature, and that's what I also agree with.
As someone who can destroy a city block if he sneezes wrong, Superman has a really hard time not hurting people by just existing. So when he is presented with an antagonist, he will always try to reason with them first. He will even eat a few hits to try his hardest to find a peaceful solution with his villains. He knows that if he gets into a fight, it could lead to unintended casualties, but it would also mean that he would have to personally bring harm to someone, which is something he hates having to do. A battle will always be Superman's last resort, unlike Goku, who will abandon his family in a heartbeat to train the reincarnation of his strongest enemy so that he could give him a good fight in the future. If Superman were to enjoy fighting and if he were motivated to seek out battles to test his strength just like Goku, he would no longer be Superman. The man of The man of tomorrow avoids fighting the best he can because he knows that if he has to fight someone, he will win and he will have to hurt them. As he states in Justice League Unlimited during his final confrontation against Darkseid, I feel like I live in a world made of cardboard, always taking constant care not to break something, to break someone. The reason I opened the video with this line is because it perfectly blends Superman's strength with his characterization. Clark was adopted by two people who were the best that humanity had to offer, and they in turn raised him to be the pinnacle of human goodness. Being the epitome of humanity's inherent goodness means that you have the strength to fend off evil for sure, but it also means that you should try your hardest to mitigate harm to others. As someone who can destroy a city block if he sneezes wrong, Superman has a really hard time not hurting people by just existing. So when he is presented with an antagonist, he will always try to reason with them first. He will even eat a few hits to try his hardest to find a peaceful solution with his villains. He knows that if he gets into a fight, it could lead to unintended casualties, but it would also mean that he would have to personally bring harm to someone, which is something he hates having to do. A battle will always be Superman's last resort, unlike Goku, who will abandon his family in a heartbeat to train the reincarnation of his strongest enemy so that he could give him a good fight in the future. If Superman were to enjoy fighting, and if he were to be motivated to seek out battles to test his strength just like Goku, he would no longer be Superman. The Man of Steel only puts his fist up when given no choice. Sure, Goku and Clark are both deemed Earth's mightiest protector, but Goku's Saiyan nature forces him to seek out stronger and stronger opponents. This Saiyan nature has on multiple occasions jeopardized the entire planet, his friends, and his family. On the other hand, Superman's human nature makes it so that he will always choose the most peaceful and humane alternative to conflict whenever he can. Even though humanity is capable of immense cruelty, Superman represents the human potential for goodness. Goku is defined by his strength, his love for battle, and his constant pursuit of self-improvement. Superman is not defined by his strength, he is defined by his humanity. Superman is altruism incarnate and presents to the world a model to aspire to be. He is the quintessential superhero. Now, I'm not saying that one character is better than the other, but it is pretty clear when you consider their characterizations beyond the surface level similarities that Goku is definitely not anime's answer to Superman. I would say that Gohan has more in common with Superman than Goku does, considering he does actively avoid conflict, seeks the most humane solutions, and puts the well-being and safety of his loved ones before anything else. We also shouldn't forget the Great Saiyaman era, no matter how hard we try to forget. So, if Goku isn't the Superman of anime, then
crazy how
who
that's
is?
actually
Well,
canon
there is
as
really
well.
only one real answer here.
In fact, in the past decade and a half, the only on-screen character that ever came close to accurately portraying Superman to portraying Clark Kent was this guy. I know this all day. And also this guy. But I'll go down that rabbit hole another day.
That was a snippet from the first video I ever uploaded to my channel an entire year ago, back when I had a whopping 0 subscribers. I really wanted to revisit the video that began this channel, so to all 184 of you who watched that Superman video, this is a sequel you probably weren't waiting for but are getting anyway. Let's dive into why All Might is anime's perfect Superman. One of the biggest ironies of this entire video is that the author of My Hero Academia, Kohei Horikoshi, said that his inspiration for All Might is none other than Son Goku, despite the character being the best anime Superman we've ever seen. It's no secret that My Hero Academia takes a lot of inspiration from the likes of Marvel and DC Comics. There are a lot of volume covers of MHA that Horikoshi has drawn that are direct homages to Marvel and DC comic book covers. I wouldn't put it past Horikoshi to have been inspired in some part by the character of Superman when writing the manga, and especially
he
when
even has his color palette
the
as well.
entire superhero society in My Hero is upheld by the broad shoulders of its #1 hero. The balance of the world is maintained by All Might, whose altruism and willingness to save people are his defining character traits. Toshinori Yagi is driven by his unending desire to become a pillar of hope in an increasingly chaotic world. He wanted everyone in the world to ease their worries as long as he was around. He wanted to be the light that banished the fear from the hearts of all people in this world. He wanted to become an example of what being a true hero is supposed to be. Essentially, he wanted to become Superman, and he achieved it. Before the story even began, Toshinori became the archetypal representative of human goodness and heroism that Superman represents. The signature smile that he flashes to the people that he saves serves the same purpose as the S on Superman's chest. It is a symbol that lets the world know that they will be okay. It announces to the public that his strength and power will be used to protect the innocent. It reminds everyone that goodness and justice will always triumph over evil. All Might's smile is intrinsic to his character and invokes the same feeling in the world of My Hero Academia that Superman does in the DC universe. And that feeling is hope. This is what it means to be the symbol of peace. To hold up a society with not just your strength, but with your pure presence and aura. When you radiate so much hope through your actions, attitude, and power that you can calm down anyone even when they're in life-threatening danger, that's when you've perfectly captured the essence of Superman. There is one other quality that makes Superman, that makes Clark Kent who he is. This quality is what the entire series of My Hero Academia is built upon. All Might is not only the strongest hero, but he also serves a certain role in the lives of everyone in the story, from Endeavor to Bakugo, and especially to Izuku Midoriya. He gives them all something that Superman gives to the civilians of Metropolis and every other hero in the DC universe: inspiration. My Hero Academia was built on the inspiration that All Might gave Deku to become a hero. He shows the world what true heroism looks like. The entire story of MHA shows Deku following the shining example that All Might set in order to become the world's greatest hero. With or without his powers, All Might hangs on to his altruism and his desire to save others. Saving people is as natural to Toshinori as it is breathing. Deku is very much the same way. His body moves on its own to save others, as if being a good person is inherently closely tied to his personality, which was molded and influenced by
There's
heroism that All Might
nature.
inspired in him. Inspiration is a big theme in My Hero Academia. Kirishima was inspired by Red Riot, Hawks was inspired by Endeavor, and even villains like Dabi, Toga, and Spinner were inspired by Stain. But all of them, in one way or another, all looked up to All Might as the true, unadulterated pinnacle of heroism, much like how in the DC universe and in superhero literature as a whole, almost everyone looks up to Superman as the definition of a true superhero. Within the confines of his own story, All Might represents and embodies the two qualities that make Superman who he is: hope and inspiration. While I believe that Goku can certainly give hope to his friends and inspire many others, this isn't Goku's primary character trait. Goku's role in his story is to battle and get stronger ad infinitum to demonstrate the value of persistent self-improvement. The role of Superman and his true anime counterpart is to be a beacon of hope and to inspire others to be heroes themselves. Thank you all so much for watching the video all the way to the end. Let me know in the comments down below what other videos you want me to make, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time with more lukewarm takes.
And I do agree. All Might is such a great depiction of the Superman archetype, more so than so many other characters Superman generally gets associated with. It's all about balancing the idea of being strong, but also what having that strength means, of how it has a greater effect to the immediate environment around you and society as a whole. Because at the end of the day, he's basically like a walking nuke. Someone like All Might, with a single punch, can punch the air and it can literally split the sea, split the skies, and cause mass destruction. And it's all about balancing the idea of being strong, but only using strength when it needs to be used, and used properly and efficiently for the sake of the people. It's all about providing hope to the people around you and inspiring the future generations to carry on that mantle. Because it's all well being easy, being strong, and how everyone has expectation of you. What's important is you inspire as being the light that people aspire to be like, and not just being strong, but being able to do the right thing at the right time when it's required of you. And that's all about what the idea of the Superman archetype is all about. And All Might is that great kind of caricature, perfectly fits the anime caricature of the Superman archetype. So I do really great videos, and I enjoyed it a lot. Probably do my own breakdown of it later on my Blessed Visions channel. I'll link it in the description below. But it's been a great video nonetheless. This guy, 1 year he's been doing this channel for, and it's grown significantly. Love you guys to bless me as well and help me out. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the month. We'll do a lot more Superman related content since it is the most anticipated movie of this summer. But with that was the video, and thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time,